Sir, would you introduce yourself and spell your name for us, please?
Bran, Bradnelson.
And sir, you are retired from the Columbia Police Department, is that right?
That's correct.
At what rank did you retire?
Captain.
And how long were you with CPD?
1 month shy of 21 years.
Did you have any law enforcement experience prior to CPD?
I did. I was at the Excelsior Springs, Missouri Police Department for 8 years prior to that.
So up until your retirement, nearly 30 years of police experience.
29, yes.
And you are about to start a new job.
Correct.
What is that?
Police chief in Salina, Kansas.
Okay. So in August and September of 2011, you were a captain with the department here, correct?
Correct.
And just briefly for us, tell us your career ascent up to captain.
Started out in 4 squad stuff, inner city, did 4 years of detective stuff as an investigator, then became a patrol sergeant, then became patrol captain, investigative commander, and then when I retired, I was the admin support commander.
And in August and September of 2011, were you the captain in Rob Sanders' chain of command?
Yes, I was the patrol commander, yes.
And you're well aware of the incident that occurred with Ken Baker on August 15th of 2011?
I am.
And in fact, after that incident occurred, and the chief became aware of it, but before the internal affairs investigation happened, the chief announced to the command staff that he was going to fire Rob Sanders, didn't he?
Yes.
Now at that time, it was the practice and the custom of the police department to put people who banged on cell doors and refused to stop on the ring, yes?
That's correct.
And it was the custom and practice of the police department to use force to do it, right?
If they wouldn't do it voluntarily, yes.
They got a warning, and
Several
then,
usually, yes.
and then if they wouldn't go sit down when told to, force was applied.
Correct.
You've done it yourself,
Yes.
dozens of times,
Not a dozen, but several, yes.
okay? All right. Now, at some point, let me ask you this. Did you have any direct involvement in the internal affairs investigation itself while it was ongoing?
I did not.
That happens outside your purview.
Correct.
But once it's completed, you were provided with a copy of the investigative report,
Correct.
and you got that on a Friday.
That sounds correct, Friday, yes.
You were told to review it over the weekend and to come back on Monday for a meeting, right?
That's correct.
And you did review it,
I did.
and what was your conclusion?
Then I concurred with the IA findings.
You went to this meeting the next Monday, and what was your conclusion at that meeting?
What was my conclusion?
Did you voice the fact that you agreed with the IA findings?
Yes, along with the email I had from
Chris Kelly.
Lieutenant Kelly.
So you presented Lieutenant Kelly's opinion as well.
Correct.
Right. And in fact, Deputy Chief Monticelli also agreed with the internal affairs investigation findings, didn't he?
He did.
Okay. But what happened at that meeting?
The chief wasn't, he obviously wasn't happy with the results. He indicated that he didn't like the unfounded. There was quite a bit of discussion about the terminology of unfounded. It wasn't going to be unfounded. It was going to be improper. And obviously, as the chief of police, that's what he can do. So it was improper. And he went around the room asking, if it is in fact going to be improper, what would you recommend the punishment be? And he went around the room starting with Sergeant Houston.
Okay. And Sergeant Houston said 15 days, right?
Yes.
And you said 15 days.
Yes.
And Deputy Chief Monticelli said 30 days.
Yes.
But none of you actually believed that was the proper outcome, right?
No.
It's true that none of you believe that.
Well, I won't speak for the others, but in my opinion, no. But I also obviously aware the chief has the right to do what he chooses, but that wasn't the intention going in, no.
But you never said that the allegations should be sustained, did you?
Correct.
And Deputy Chief Monticelli never said the allegations should be sustained, did he?
Correct.
Okay. But the chief decided that's what it was going to be, and you were told, you've got to give me a punishment recommendation.
Yes.
Okay. Chief Nelson, as a professional law enforcement officer, near the pinnacle of a law enforcement career, do you believe Rob Sanders violated any Columbia Police Department policy on August 15th, 2011?
No.
Do you believe that Rob Sanders abused a prisoner that night?
No.
Do you believe that Rob Sanders improperly treated a prisoner that night?
No.
Do you believe that Rob Sanders has been railroaded?
I don't like the word, I don't believe he received proper due process. I would go with that.
Okay. Because everybody thought IA was right except for the chief.
Correct.
And it was clear to you from that initial announcement in command staff that it didn't matter, the chief was going to fire him.
My opinion, yes.
Yeah. Didn't matter what IA said.
Correct.
Okay. No further questions, thanks.
Russ.
So the chief started with Bruce Houston and told him, you will find duty to use reasonable force and abuse and improper treatment to be sustained.
No, it was just that he didn't agree with the IA's findings, and it was his view as the chief of police that it was going to be found improper. But he didn't go down through each person and make that comment, that's just made it known.
Then why did you agree with them?
In my opinion, I was in the military for 13 years also. I understand the chain of command. I mean, looking back, probably should have, but I understand the chain of command. Everybody has a boss. And I was told the findings were going to be this. So with that said, what is your recommendation for punishment now?
So instead of ending this right early, when you had an opportunity to stand up for what is right, you wait until we have a hearing and however many trials later, and now is the time when you're going to come forward?
Well, I wasn't invited to any other civil proceedings, criminal proceedings. This is the first time I've been here.
You were invited to that hearing that day.
I'm not understanding what your point might be.
My point is that at that hearing that day, you made a recommendation about reasonable force and abuse of improper treatment that was to sustain it.
Well, once again, chain of command. I know everybody has a boss. I will say that I closed that meeting. My last conversation about Rob Sanders was that regardless of what's going to happen here, he does not deserve to be fired. That was the last thing I said to the chief of police.
But you found that the medical attention was not sustained, so you were able to resist him on that charge. Is that true?
So you have to resist him on that charge.
He wanted everything sustained. You found that that wasn't sustained.
Okay?
So you're saying he didn't force you on all three charges, so you had some will to choose. Is that right?
He didn't force me. I never said he forced me. When did I say he forced me? What I'm saying is, as the chief of police, he has the right. He's the boss. If this is what he's going to do, this is what he's going to do. And he's my boss. And he said he's going to find him improper. Like, I don't know how much clearer I can be on that. That's how it was relayed to me.
Isn't part of this discussion to find out the issues? Didn't you speak up and say, hey, you know what, I don't think he's improper because of this and this and this and this?
The conversation started was kind of brief. It wasn't like an hour-long conversation. It was, did you have a chance to review all the report? We had the full report, not redacted, the full report. And of course, we all said, well, I won't speak for them. I said yes, I had a chance to review it. So I did in fact review it. And what are your findings? And to me specifically, I won't speak for anybody else, even though I was there. Specifically, I answered, I concur with what I decided that be unfounded.
Why does Monticelli report that you didn't concur?
You would have to ask him that. I don't know.
And it's not your fault, you've never seen this before. So here's you, and just read what it says and tell me if that's what you did that day.
Recommended the duty to use reasonable force and the abuse/improper treatment of a prisoner allegation be sustained. Recommended the medical attention allegation be not sustained. Recommended a 15-day suspension.
Did that not happen?
Well, again, we're getting in somewhat semantics, but what I would suggest is regardless of what, who wrote this?
Chris did.
I didn't write this, okay. I would stand by the decision that was made that day as far as speaking of specifically of what was found unfounded by what IA said. When I was asked, you concur with the findings, and my answer was yes.
So that email is inaccurate?
I didn't write the email. I mean, I don't.
Well, I'm just asking what you did
You're
that
showing me
day.
something I haven't seen. Okay, I see an email here that Chris's recollection of what took place that day.
Okay, so that day, your decision was every single charge was unfounded.
My decision that day was I concurred with the IA investigation That was completed, yes.
So that would mean that that email is incorrect.
I'm gonna stick by it because this is somebody else's recollection of what took place. I know what took place as far as what was asked of me. I concurred with the findings of the IA.
Did you make a recommendation on punishment then?
Yes.
How did you concur with the findings of IA and make a recommendation on punishment?
Well, once again, for at least the third time, I was told this is what it's going to be. It's going to be improper. So I was told you're going to have a discipline recommendation of some sort. So with that said, recognizing that this man is my boss, that's what I did.
So internally, you felt like you had to say yes to some of the charges being sustained.
Object as vague, I'm not sure I follow it.
I'm not sure I need to sustain.
I'm trying to find out what you did that day, and you can't seem to tell me.
Well, I don't know how to be clear. Tell me how to be clear.
Okay, did you sustain the charge of the duty to use reasonable force that day?
I can honestly, in all honesty, obviously, the part about whether or not what I said is what I concurred with. So I guess that would be my answer.
Okay, so then this email would be incorrect because that is not it.
I guess so, but I didn't write it down.
And it would be incorrect about the improper treatment allegation as well.
What does it say about improper treatment?
That you also sustained that allegation.
I'm trying to think of the actual semantics of how it was worded that day, so I don't know if I can answer that. 2.5 years, but I can't answer
So you don't really remember what you did that day?
that. I've told you, I mean, I'll say it again if you'd like me to. I remember exactly specifically being asked, what do you do in regards to this investigation? And again, I concurred with the findings of the IA. Okay? Is that what?
I think I understand you to say that of all three charges, because IA found that those were unfounded, that you agreed with all three of those.
I concurred with their findings, yes.
Okay. And then there would be no reason for you to give a range of punishment.
I was asking for it. Wasn't it, well, I was asking what would my punishment be if, in fact, these were found improper, some of these were found improper. I was asking to give a punishment. I don't know if there's a range or days, because I don't think we really have ranges, but it was a day, a specific amount of days.
But you never said any of them were improper.
Again, if the police chief said they were going to be found improper, that was what would be my recommendation, 15 days.
So how can you give a recommendation for something's improper if you said all the other ones, there is nothing to be improper with?
Objection
The
vague.
chief of police said they were all improper. I don't know if I understand what you're saying.
What's your objection on here?
Vague.
Vague?
Vague, I didn't call it a question.
Yeah, I think you're beating them up here a little bit. You've asked the same question a couple of times.
I'll let you guys try to figure it out,
Okay,
because
we'll do that.
I can't seem to get through.
Anything else, Mr. Keenan?
Just very quickly, a couple. Just bottom line, Chief, you voiced your opinion that IA was correct.
Yes.
Okay. And that email that you've been shown, just to be clear, and to be clear for the board, that is not Lieutenant Schaus Jones's recollection. That's what she was told to send to me, correct? If you read the opening paragraph.
The deputy Monticelli said, was the one who told her that.
She got that information from Deputy Chief Monticelli. She wasn't there for that part.
Okay.
Okay. I'm
Yeah.
certainly not implying that.
She was not there, that's correct.
I am not implying that Lieutenant Schaus Jones has purposely misrepresented something. That's the information she was giving me. But from what I understand, you're also telling me that in fact Deputy Chief Monticelli agreed with you that the internal affairs investigation was correct in all three respects.
Yes, that's correct.
Thank you. Nothing further.
So Deputy Chief Monticelli either told Krista the wrong thing or lied to Krista. That would be your testimony.
No,
Is that correct?
that would be what you just said. You would almost, seriously, you have to ask him, because I'm not going to comment on what he said or wrote when I didn't do that.
And where is Deputy Chief Monticelli right now?
Right now,
Yeah, did he get a new job?
yeah,
Where at?
Harrisonburg, Virginia.
Not on the witness list tonight. Do you know that?
I don't know that.
Okay,
Objection irrelevant.
Yeah, he can't speculate to what
I'm done.
Monticelli did or did not say. He doesn't.
I'm done.
All right. Congratulations on your new job, Chief.
Thank you, sir.
It's an honor. I'm just going to go through this one more time. Your recommendation at this meeting with these other 5 people, 4 people, whatever it is, was he's innocent of all charges. He should be, all charges be thrown out. You said that at the meeting.
Well, that's correct. As far as, I concur with the IA's investigation. Very
100%, all 3 charges.
Yes.
And you, at this roundtable meeting, I'm guessing it was,
Yes.
you stepped up and said, this is what I think.
Well, we went around the room, and all it was, what did you believe after reading the?
And you said, I think, I
I
concur on
concur.
all 3 charges with IA.
I'm using the word concur too much, I apologize, but I agree with
Okay.
all what the IA said, yes.
All right. But some, and you've never seen this document before.
Well, I'm looking at some of these documents, I don't know how much to be looking at some of these up here.
This is Exhibit E. This is one that they had you read a few minutes ago, what you supposedly said on item number 3.
I don't know the copy.
Oh.
No, it's just the IA.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know if this is, I have to ask, is this, I had a meeting with Mr. Jensen, is this one of the forms that you had?
I think you saw that email, because I asked you.
What was the question?
The question is, since you agreed with IA, how did these, are these your words in any form or shape that you recommended to do reasonable force use and proper treatment of a prisoner, allegations be sustained? Did you ever say that?
Well, again, it's 2.5 years ago.
Or did you just cave from pressure because the chief was there and that's what he was going to do? You said something about respecting the chain of command.
Yeah, and I truly do not like the word cave.
All right.
If I can go back in time, I'd do something different, okay? I'll be honest there. But as far as, it was clear that it wasn't open for debate. This is what it's going to be. It's going to be improper.
I got it.
Okay.
Did you stick by your guns all the way through, or is this something you actually agreed to?
Well, I agreed to the chief's decision to be the chief of police and find it improper, yes.
You didn't say that.
Yes.
So this is not in there.
Well, some of the phrasing, I guess, I mean, I don't want to put, some of the phrasing, I don't exactly sound like something I would say, but I don't know if he was taking notes, I don't know. I don't know how where that came from.
All right, so there was obviously pressure there. Your boss is sitting there and he's saying, I'm going to find wrong on all 3 charges, and you're at the other end of the spectrum apparently. And he asked you for a penalty recommendation, and you kind of throw out 15 days, kind of a minimal deal.
Well, at that point in time, I do recall that I thought 15 days was the most you could give to somebody. Because we had quite a discussion with Deputy Chief Monticello's decision to do 30 days, because I didn't think he could do 30 days.
But you wouldn't have done any if you had your choice.
Correct.
On this same general issue, the memo that we're talking about here says that the meeting was convened to ask for individual recommendations from members of the chain of command, right? Is that your recollection of what this meeting was for?
Yeah, we're all in the same room though, but it's.
Your individual recommendations.
That's correct, sir.
And, but you're now telling me that, or you're telling the board, that you weren't really asked for your individual recommendations because the decision had been made. And so the meeting was a bit of a sham? Is that?
Well, some of the words you.
Were you asked for your individual recommendation?
Yes, and once he had them all, then we were told that that's not the way it's gonna be.
Okay, but you gave your
Yes,
recommendation.
we went around.
And it's not reflected in this document? Where you,
Well,
where this document says.
these are all,
sustained.
this document is all after the fact, after we'd already given our concur. These statements are made after we went through 4 people, 3 people, plus 1 email.
Yeah, but they're individual recommendations, 1 through 5, from
After
5 people.
That's correct, after we've already been asked, after we'd already concurred, and then we're told that it's not gonna be found.
So this does not reflect your individual recommendation, this memo,
Well, not going into the room, absolutely not.
but coming out of the room?
Well, it's what was told was gonna happen, so that was what was gonna happen.
So if it was gonna happen, why have this meeting?
Well, I can't answer that. I didn't convene the meeting. I mean, I can't answer that.
But the result of the meeting you're suggesting was predetermined? Did you have any conversations with any of these people before the meeting and suggesting that the chief is gonna do this, we better go in and not say anything?
No, I certainly did not expect this to happen, so the answer is no. Certainly walking out there, I felt it was a predetermined decision, it had already been made. I don't know if it was a sham, but I certainly felt like, why did we just waste several commanders' time when it didn't matter, because this is what it's gonna be. I certainly felt like that walking out, but not walking in.
And do you suspect in seeing this, you haven't seen this memo before, but in seeing this memo now, do you think it was constructed to kind of support a consensus that didn't exist?
Yes.
So it was constructed by somebody to present a reality that was not true.
Well, I would always have to get in his mind, but if I was asked to write this, it should have included what the initial thoughts were, right? Because there's no initial thoughts about concurring with the IA's recommendation. That's not in there, so if it's not taking that proper context, this does read rather odd.
Now see, what troubles me a little bit is I could understand that logic if the memo said, you know, as a consequence of the meeting, the general feeling was, or the general consensus was, but this memo states out 5 people's individual recommendations. And you're saying that individual recommendation attributed to you is false.
I'm saying that these individual recommendations are after the initial round the table. What are your thoughts? Concur. After reviewing, what do you think? These are the thoughts of people, including myself, after we're told it's not going to be found unfounded. It's going to be found improper. With that knowledge, and I won't speak for the other 4, whatever's in there, what do you want to do? Because this is going to be found improper.
Okay. Okay, I now understand that. So would you argue that the term individual recommendations in the first paragraph of this document is misleading? Because these were not your individual recommendations.
Not going in, not
They
going
weren't
in.
individual at all. They were the result of group discussion, the thoughts and perhaps pressure from the chief. But these were not your individual recommendations. They were a consensus recommendation that resulted after the fact.
I would agree with that, sir.
Thank you.
I guess I'm still confused. I mean, if I go to a meeting, and I'm thinking, I'm the chief, you're the captain. Captain, what do you think? I think IA is exactly right, we shouldn't do anything. And then everybody else expresses their viewpoints. And then me as chief says, well, that's not the way it's gonna be, guys. And by the way, Captain Nelson, you're gonna find with me on the first 2 charges, and I'll let you slide on the last one. Is that what happened?
I don't think it's that clear, no. It's not
Why
that.
do you get credit for, backing up the chief on the first 2 in this memo?
Well, again, I didn't write this memo, so I don't know how to answer that. But
Well, you're not denying that at the end of the meeting, at least I don't think you're denying it, that you changed your opinion.
that's true.
That is true, that you're
Well,
not denying.
What you just said, I'm not denying that. Certainly, going in, my thoughts, how it was gonna go as far as collectively, once we went through, that this is, we concur with the IA, from what it was walking out, was radically different, yes. Because, again, I won't speak for the other 4, but this guy's the chief of police.
But you've given credit in this memo for concurring with the chief on the first 2.
Okay.
Did you do that at the end of the meeting? By the time the thing wrapped up, did you feel pressured to do that? Or you just said, okay, I'll go on the first 2, but not the last one? How do you give credit in this memo?
Okay, I don't recall it being that specific as far as breaking down that much. I don't recall it being that specific. Again, that's just my recollection. I don't recall it being that specific. It was very clear that it was going to be improper. That part was very clear. And in my mind, it was very clear that this guy was going to get fired. That was pretty apparent.
But as a captain, you didn't want to say, my name's not going on that, I concur with IA.
But I never saw this document as far as until 2.5 years later. So
Because give you credit for saying these things.
well, but again, that's Deputy Chief Monticelli, I would have to ask him.
Yeah.
I wish Deputy Chief Monticelli would have gave me this thing and said, if you're good on this, put your initials by it.
So-
That would have meant a lot more to me
In
as far
fact,
as
what this
today.
memo is hearsay,
After fact, yes.
because Shouse Jones is repeating what Monticello
Yes.
told her.
Yes.
Got it.
Double hearsay.
Which I objected to,
Pardon me?
which I objected to at the time.
We'll get to the bottom of that maybe.
Yeah, now-
Another witness, or are we done with this witness? Anybody else any questions? Thank you very much. Good luck in your new position.
Thank you.
Thanks for your service to our city, too. Thank you. Another witness?
Sergeant Chad Craig.